Looking for a summer experience your child will never forget? Camp Paw Print and Camp Wildside at Dane County Humane Society offers unforgettable opportunities to learn, explore, and grow while having fun. Perfect for kids age 7 to 12, Camp Paw Print features hands-on animal encounters, crafts, themed lessons, and more. For youth ages 12 to 15, Camp Wildside offers unique themed focus on wildlife exploration, nature adventures, and conservation activities. Make lasting memories with these one-of-a-kind camps. Register today at giveshelter.org/education. One of the holy grails of yearly bike rides is coming up. Loop the Lake is on Saturday, June 20th, starting and ending at the Eastside Club on Monona Drive. Gear up for an at-your-own-pace 13-mile ride around the gorgeous Lake Monona. You'll get food, beverages, a t-shirt, and, of course, local pride. Kids 10 and under ride free with an adult, plus proceeds benefit Clean Lakes Alliance. Register today at cleanlakesalliance.org/loop-the-lake. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, it's the Friday News Roundup, and there are rumbles around our state and our voting maps. The governor's race nomination paper filing deadline has passed, and that historic building on Wilson Street has finally sold. Plus, our Neighbors Only segment, Overture Center's impact on Madison's economy almost doubled in the past 5 years. Is Madison becoming even more of a theater town? We're going to open the curtain for our roundup today. Joining me is our wonderful producer, Jade Isiri Ramos. Hey, Jade.
Hi, Bianca. I'm so excited to get into the news with you today.
Yes. And also with us for the first segment this week is the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, Nick Ramos. Nick, welcome back to CityCast Madison.
Hey, I'm so glad to be back with you two. I hope you all have been good.
Yes. And we got important stuff to talk about. Nick, we're having you on today because Wisconsin's voting maps are back in the news and the state Supreme Court. Voting maps are a national story right now in a huge sense. So the question at hand is, do our state's 8 congressional districts represent a, quote, anti-competitive gerrymander? Wisconsin Supreme Court justices recently decided to take up an appeal challenging the state's 8 congressional districts. This is a lawsuit that is being brought by the liberal firm Law Forward. What can you tell us about this case and what we need to know?
First, our congressional maps are terrible when it comes to gerrymandering. And there have been multiple attempts throughout the last 5 years to have a court go look at it because the legislature has shown no appetite for wanting to change the congressional maps that we've been subjected to for the last 6 years now. And so it's just interesting that now we're watching the Wisconsin Supreme Court in a very pivotal midterm season entertain the possibility that these maps, if they rule on them and decide that they are unconstitutional and that they are gerrymandered, that we could see new congressional maps as early as these new elections that are happening in the fall. I mean, it's a tall order, no matter, who is making this decision, because time is ticking. I mean, I don't know about you all, but 2026 has been moving at the speed of sound as far as it's already June. And you're watching around the country right now a host of states that are doing mid-decade redistricting because they are, one, taking commands and orders from the President Trump, and they're trying to do everything in their power to secure majorities in the legislature at the federal level. And so, people are witnessing this in real time. And my hope is that everybody on that Supreme Court can silence the noise and look at this case on its merits, because everyone knows that we have had some of the most gerrymandered maps in this country.
Yeah, I remember the first time I learned about the Congress people that we had in Wisconsin and looked at the maps and thought, that's kind of interesting. We're a purple state, and of the 8 districts, Republicans hold 6 congressional seats and Democrats hold 2. So it sounds like this case is arguing Wisconsin's congressional voting districts are designed to give incumbent candidates better odds in re-election campaigns. So a lot to look at there. And you talked about a little bit the national context. Let's turn to that, because in April, the United States Supreme Court struck down a congressional map in Louisiana, ruling that it was unconstitutional racial gerrymandering. This is so significant. Nick, what does this decision mean for Wisconsin's maps?
If we sit on our hands and we do nothing between now and 2030, we can see some real repercussions and real bad boogeymen come out of the closet. I think because of the amount of work that has been done here in Wisconsin through the Fair Maps Coalition, we have been able to, at least in the short term, get fair maps that have been legislatively, voted on and governor signed into law. We secured fair maps till 2030, and then every 10 years, we get a census that we all got to fill out the survey and see how, populations are shifting in Wisconsin. And then if nothing changes, the legislature, by the Constitution here in Wisconsin, are the ones that get to draw the maps. And we have witnessed the intense gerrymandering that has plagued this state for it's been over a decade, but it's been pretty much like 14 years of just maps that, as you talked about, even just on the congressional side of it, like Wisconsin's when you say purple state, it is purple like Barney the dinosaur. Like these federal elections and these statewide elections, everybody always talks about how they're razor thin margins, and the numbers prove that. And it could tip in any one direction, just by thousands of votes.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're talking about 14 years, there's some feeling of stagnation, certainly. And I think it is really pronounced right now because there's also, this wave of mid-decade redistricting happening across the U.S. States are in their own battles for congressional control: California, Florida, Louisiana, Texas. And we've got to think about this moment, like, is this normal? And why is this happening all right now? I've been following what happened in Memphis, Tennessee, where the Tennessean Republicans eliminated the state's one Democratic Black majority congressional district. And I mean, it sent reverberations out. Historian Nicole Hannah-Jones wrote a piece that, quote, this is the title, quote, "The Civil Rights Era is Collapsing Before America's Eyes." Can we kind of just talk about this moment and why this discussion and this lawsuit is important right now?
I mean, on Tuesday, June 2nd, we saw another state, Alabama, that just like that quick, be able to erase another, minority, like as far as like BIPOC folks, and them having a district with actual representation being erased all before this midterm. Calais has shown us the case that basically told us that the one part of the Voting Rights Act that tries to protect, those communities of interest, we can't rely on the courts in the ways that people for decades would always say, well, if you can't get it done through the legislature, the judicial branch is the one that can call the balls and the strikes and get us back on track. We're learning in real time that, it can't just be litigation. It has to be grassroots power. And we have to keep pushing for an independent, nonpartisan redistricting commission in this state so that doesn't matter how the trade winds or the pendulum swings on who's in power, we need overhaul and regulation that will then transcend whoever's in office and make sure that we're drawing maps fairly.
Nick, you just mentioned grassroots efforts, and by the time listeners hear this, your organization and others with the Wisconsin Fair Maps Coalition will have held 7 rallies across the state to demand an independent redistricting commission. Can you explain that demand and why you chose to have 7 coordinated rallies?
We want to do our best to try and get in front of the next round of states in this country that decides that they want to gerrymander their residents just because there's a midterm election happening. I remember a time where we could actually not have to wake up every day and read the news and see the next terrible thing that has happened to this thing that we all thought was going to be preserved, and it's democracy. And people are feeling like with the price of goods and the cost of living, it's reaching a level that is unsustainable, and people are feeling more and more like they're being left out. And so this is our opportunity to try and bring community people together and show you that, like, everything when it comes to these politicians and the public policy that they're passing, if we don't even get a fair shot at being able to have representatives that are not only accountable to us, but the people that we actually elect to be in office, that we are never going to be able to get out of this rabbit hole. And it's like, we need to have fair maps that leads to good public policy. And so I don't want people out there to be discouraged by what's happening across the country right now, that it's easy to think about eye for an eye tactics and think that, well, if the Republicans are going to gerrymander, then the Democrats need to gerrymander. But like, the Fair Maps Coalition didn't come together to then try and reform from one gerrymander to another gerrymander. It's all about trying to create a system that is going to actually be fair and take it out of the politicians' hands and put it into the people's hands, so that we are actually at the table versus what these lawmakers think. They think they know better than everybody else, and that's why, like, they take advisory referenda away and they give you these constitutional amendments every year without getting any real public input. Like, the people are tired of it, and that's why, like, we want people to recenter. Remember that we've got a bigger goal here, and it is to deliver fair maps permanently and end gerrymandering permanently in this state.
Well, Nick, this is such an important time to be having this conversation. All eyes are on our maps, and we're in election season. So thank you for taking the time. Nick Ramos, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you all so much, man.
We're going to turn to what's new in the governor's race, but first, let's take a quick break. Literacy is the moment. Madison Reading Project's mission is to connect our community with free books and literacy resources that ignite a love for reading and affirm and reflect the diversity of young readers. And y'all, they truly put on one of the coolest events of the year. Every year, Madison Reading Project hosts a paper fashion fundraiser to behold, and it supports children's book access and free literacy programs called Red E to Wear. And the creativity is unparalleled. Ready to Wear is on June 11th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Sylvie. This year's theme is out of this world. Get your tickets today at madisonreadingproject.com/readytowear2026 and gather your best mates. You can get the best ticket price when you buy a 4-pack, so you get your friends together and enjoy this one-of-a-kind night. All right, it's time for our weekly segment, Banking Outside the Box with Oak Bank, with the sponsor of this episode, Oak Bank. It's your opportunity to get your banking and financial questions answered by an expert.
Good day. This is Ty Beck, Vice President of Business Banking at Oak Bank. And this week's question is, what does a bank look for when approached by a business for a loan? When beginning a new partnership with a prospective business, banks will often begin the process by evaluating the 5 C's of lending. The 5 C's of lending are a framework used by banks to measure credit risk and determine borrower eligibility. They evaluate reputation, ability to repay, financial backing, asset security, and the context of the loan to make informed, safe lending decisions. The 5 C's, in no particular order, are character. This is the lender's opinion of a business owner's trustworthiness and creditworthiness. Capacity, the measurement of comparing income against reoccurring debts to determine the ability to repay the debt obligation. Capital, this is a representation of the amount of money or equity you personally have invested into the project or business. Collateral, these are the assets that the borrower pledges to back the loan, such as real estate, equipment, inventory, and in some instances, cash accounts. Conditions, this refers to outside circumstances surrounding the loan that could affect repayment, the intended purpose of the loan, current market trends, interest rates, and the overall economic environment. In summary, the 5 C's of lending are not solely for the benefit of the bank. It is an exercise for both the bank and the business owner to evaluate all aspects of the business that can have a positive or negative impact on their overall success. When choosing a bank, you are choosing a partner, one that will be there for your business in good and in not so good times. Take the time to talk through concerns, discuss options, and establish a relationship on the front end of your journey rather than running with the first bank to say yes. I promise you will thank yourself in the long run. Reach out to us at oak.bank to learn more.
Huge thanks to Oak Bank for sponsoring this segment. If you've got a banking or financial question, hit the link in the show notes. You might even hear it answered in an upcoming episode. All right, we've been talking state maps. Let's turn to elections and the musical chairs and contests in our midst this election year. So Monday was the filing deadline for candidates across the state to submit nomination papers for races to get on the ballot for the August primary and the general election ballot in November. So there's been a ton of political energy abound. There are tons of contested races across the state, including multiple assembly seats in Madison, the most contested of which for our city is the State Assembly District 76 seat, which is being vacated by Francesca Hong, who's running for governor. 76, it's representing a lot of the east side of Madison, and there are a ton of Democratic names vying for the spot. I pulled this from Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, those candidates being Madison Common Council member Dina Nina Martinez Rutherford, Assembly Democratic Leadership staffer Isaiah Ben-I, former Madison Common Council member Juliana Bennett, community advocate and journalist Zoe Sullivan, community activist Tony Castaneda, and Adam Brabender. The winner of that primary race will then run against Republican Nina Chat. This is hot. Jade, East Side. There are a lot of names we know running for this one.
There's a lot of names we know, a lot of movers and shakers in Madison on this list of candidates. And truly, this is a Democratic stronghold in the state, which means whoever wins the primary is most certainly, unless something crazy happens, going to be the person who represents that district for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I know we talk about the East Side a lot on this show, CityCast Madison, and that in part is because East Siders are loud and proud. They are trying to be in the political process, and this is just a great representation of that. I feel good seeing all those names in. We're talking about democracy and the importance of people using their voices, and yeah, I feel proud to see all of those names in there. And, mentioning Representative Francesca Hong, let's turn to the governor's race. She's leaving her seat. Nomination papers are in, and there's a bit of a shakeup there we'll get to. Rob Thomas, one of our creative producers, wrote about the list of who submitted signatures in our newsletter yesterday. So overall, 8 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 1 independent submitted their papers. Going alphabetically here, on the Democratic side, candidates include former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, former DOA Secretary Joel Brennan, Milwaukee County Executive David Crawley, State Representative Francesca Hong, former WEDC or WEDC Secretary and CEO Missy Hughes, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, and State Senator Kelda Roys. That was almost done with one breath. And the Republicans on the ballot are U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany, who has the endorsement, as we know, of President Donald Trump and the state Republican Party, as well as medical services technician Andy Mansky. The independent is Milwaukee pastor David King. So those are all the folks who got their nomination papers in, but 2 did not hit their signature count, Kirk Bangstad and Pastor King.
Yeah, I didn't know much about Pastor King, but I am pretty surprised that Bangstad didn't get the signatures that he needed.
That was a surprise. It was kind of this wild card that entered the race, he's got a lot of followers. And how did this happen? Well, the Minocqua Brewing Company founder and activists had 40 pages of submitted signatures that were ruled invalid because he incorrectly listed August 11th as the general election day, not the primary election day. Womp. That's no good.
Ouch, that hurts. That's I remember this assignment that I had in high school where it was a read all the instructions assignment. So then when you got to the very end of it, it was don't do any of the prompts, and you were supposed to read all the way through the questions and not do any of the prompts. But paperwork matters. Putting the right date on the right line matters.
Right. I mean, talk about the veto pen, like one word matters in legislation. But yeah, so that has come and gone in that sense. And I do want to note that it's the signatures are in, but a process starts now where they're going to rigorously review all of the signatures. So it's not like totally final said and done, but those are the folks who got in. And we're going to be looking to get interviews in with the candidates because the race is in full swing. We are going to keep on tracking. This train is leaving the station to turn to a big sale downtown. Before we get to that news, we're going to take a quick break. I hear a train a-comin'. Jade, you got this next story.
Yeah, we have been hearing the train a-comin' for a while now, and we have been following the story for some time. So the future of Madison's Amtrak station, there's some movement in that story this week. The Legislative Budget Committee approved plans to sell the state office building, which is located at 1 West Wilson, to a Madison-based developer with the intent to turn the 11-story Art Deco-style building into the home of the future Amtrak station. And Bianca, this building, it was made to be a train station.
It really was. It is such a baddie. It kind of looks like Batman would live there. It's giving Gotham. It's giving Art Deco, as you said. It's one of the cooler buildings in Madison. So it's awesome that it's going to have some new purpose, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I'll get into the sale in a minute, but I just want to give a refresher for folks about the future of passenger rail in our city. So Amtrak is planned to extend their Hiawatha line to Madison. It currently runs between Chicago and Milwaukee, and they're also planning to expand it to Minneapolis, which is really all the cities I want to go to in the Midwest.
Yeah. It's the slumber party. Everyone's invited that needs to be there. They're there.
Yeah. The big four. And I'm putting us in the big four, you know?
I'm sorry. Is that Eau Claire calling in? I'm so sorry, girl. Someday, well.
So they are planning to run trains through Madison by 2030, though it could be as early as 2029, which truly is just around the corner. Amtrak has set a location of the Madison station to be on West Wilson, and this is an area that the city of Madison flagged as their preferred location at the end of last year, which means the West Wilson building is perfect. Bianca, you spoke to City Transportation Director Christoph Spieler about that location, and I'll link that episode in the show notes. But can you remind us why that West Wilson spot was the favorite?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely go back and listen to it. It was really fascinating how they were kind of narrowing down the different choices. But straightforwardly, it's downtown. So there's proximity to so many businesses, the BRT and bus lines. It already is on existing rail lines. So it's sitting there. So some of the infrastructure needs are like straightforward. Parking already exists is what they said. I definitely pushed back on that when I talked to him. I was like, parking downtown sucks. But hey, I mean, parking is parking. But basically it's centrally located, and that ended up being the winner for those reasons.
You know, I was hesitant when you talked to Christoph because this was before they had really landed on a location. They were also looking at something on the east side, and I was skeptical again because of the is there enough parking? It doesn't really call out to me, but when I saw the plans to turn the state office building into a train station, that really sold it for me. Then I was like, okay, I'm on board. Yeah. The vision.
Yeah.
The vision. Yeah, that's so true. So when Amtrak comes, they will likely have to utilize a temporary station while the development of the former state office building is developed. But we are one step closer. And let me get into the details of that pending sale. So on Tuesday, the Budget Committee unanimously approved the selling of the building to a Madison-based company, Landmark Development, for $10 million. And they're in the closing process right now, which will take about 3 months. The sale is a part of a larger plan for the state to downsize its office buildings. With more state employees working remotely, the state is looking to consolidate office spaces and increase the number of employees who are working outside of Madison. And there's 2 more buildings, Bianca, that the state is looking to sell downtown, GEF2 and GEF3, but they are way less striking than the state office building, Bianca. I got excited for a second, there's 2 more cool buildings, but these are really just office buildings.
Yeah, my memories with those are looking at like GE, looking at the lettering on it, trying to understand what exactly is this, but also like walking under like kind of the bridge is over. There's a little bridge and pedestrian walkway where there's a fountain around King Street. But yeah, less striking for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry to the state who's trying to sell it. They're wonderful. My gosh. But it's such a great location. Anywho, this is really good news. It's exciting news. I think the more news we can get on the train station moving forward is keeping this heart chugging along. We're going to keep moving to our neighbor shout outs, which is something that also makes our hearts happy. That is, of course, the special section of the show where CityCast Madison neighbors get to spread some love to the people, places, and things that make Madison special. And we did get one new shout out this week. Thanks for heeding the call. Jade, who's getting the spotlight?
Yeah, Allison B. wrote in to shout out the MSCR Pontoon Program. She says, the MSCR Pontoon Program is one of my favorite ways to experience Madison, though I'm biased because I volunteer for the program. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays from now until the end of September, they offer 90-minute drop-in cruises around Lake Monona or Mendota that are just $5, and city residents can get free tickets at public libraries if the $5 is a burden. This is so cool.
It's so cool, and I can't express how much I agree with her. It's one of the coolest ways to see the city is from the lakes, like on the lakes, and looking around is like, oh, that's where we live, and getting a different perspective. And pontooning is just a delight. Also, her saying, like, I'm biased. This is the place, our neighborhood shoutouts, you can be biased. Like, we're looking for your lived experience and the things that you know are good. So, like, bias away.
Bianca, have you been on this pontoon?
Okay, so I have not been on this pontoon boat. I have been on the pontoon porch.
Yeah, sure.
But the other day I was sitting there watching a pontoon boat go by and thinking, God, I want to get back on one.
I think that we should, as a CityCast team, go on one. I also think that this is a great way to like meet Madison locals. You know what I mean? I just feel like there are probably characters that we need to know who are on the pontoon.
I agree. Honestly, Allison, thank you so much for shouting this pontoon program out. And that really is a deal, too. $5.
$5.
Come on.
Yeah, that's family friendly.
$5.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I just want folks to know our neighborhood program is where it's at. You get to make shout outs like this. Become a CityCast Madison neighbor today so you can tell us about good deals and also like put some shine on the things that you're working on. Put shine on the things that people are working on that you believe in and we need to know about. It's the best way to support our local team's work, by the way, becoming a neighbor. And it comes with other perks like exclusive newsletters, ad-free podcasts, and our exclusive Neighbors Only podcast segment, which is coming up next. So if you want to hear that and get those perks, head to membership.citycast.fm/Madison to learn more. Again, that's it for the Friday News Roundup, unless you're a neighbor, that is. Jade Ramos, thank you so much for rounding up the news with me this week. You are a star.
Thanks, Bianca. You too. Have a great weekend.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. We're produced by Jade Ramos with help this week from Laura Sitsui and Katie McMurrin. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music this week by Xavier and Ophelia, Jean Thomas Clodier, and Drew Shepard from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor. Don't forget, you can always get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to CityCast Madison's newsletter. And you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who cares about voting rights? Hey, and hop in on that train. We still hear it coming. All right, see you back here Monday morning with more news from around the city. Hold on to that excitement. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful weekend.